This woman unalived two of her children and kept them in a freezer for 2 years. This is the story of Mitchelle Blair. Mitchelle had 4 children. Her two oldest daughters were from a previous relationship, and her two youngest sons were from her last relationship. She had anger problems and made her boyfriend's life a living hell. He eventually left her. Over the next few years, she took her anger and aggression out on her children. She would beat them and torture them using various objects, such as an extension cord, the buckle of a belt, and even her hands. She would also sometimes starve them, serving them only canned potatoes for breakfast and dinner. She made sure to not leave any visible marks on their arms, legs, or face, as she didn't want to cause any suspicion. Things took a dark turn when she saw her youngest son, only 5 years old, playing with his toys in an odd manner, according to her. She then questioned him if his older brother S8'd him. The boy said no, however, she didn't like that answer and basically questioned him over and over until he said yes. Over the next few weeks, she beat and tortured her son, until one day she called her oldest daughter into the kitchen and said she's no longer going to beat him. However, she then called her into the bedroom, and when she walked in, she saw her brother laying there in his mother's arms, barely alive. She then said to say goodbye to her brother and give him a kiss. And while doing so, she heard him take his last breath. The mother then wrapped his body in a blanket and made her help carry the body down to the freezer. She made her two oldest daughters rehearse what they would say prior to going to school when asked about his whereabouts, stating that he's at his father's house or he's visiting their aunt. Some time had passed, and she decides to question the little boy again, this time asking if his 13-year-old sister had essayed him, and again the boy said no. However, she wouldn't accept that answer. According to the oldest daughter, her mother started wailing on her sister, slamming her body into the wall and even strangling her. Over the next couple of weeks, she not only tortured her, she starved her until she was just skin and bones. She then took a bag and placed it over her head, suffocating her. She had her oldest daughter help move the body down to the freezer, and while doing so, she realized she was still breathing. At that point, the mother then grabbed another bag, placed it over her head while pinching her nose at the same time to speed up the process, and she quickly took it off, stating, "You're as good as gone anyway," and closed the freezer while she was still breathing. Some time had passed and she received an eviction notice. At this point, she started to panic, realizing there's nowhere else for her to hide the body. She then grabbed her two children, took them to the neighbor's house, and told her neighbor everything. The neighbor then took the children upstairs and called the police. She was apprehended immediately. During her trial, she had no remorse and stated she would do it again if she could. She is now serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Although she claimed that her 5-year-old was abused, there has never been any evidence to support that claim.